Expedition 33 is quite possibly one of the best games I have played ever. It is simply amazing. From the first 10 seconds in, I knew it was a game I would personally vote to be Game of the Year. And when I say 10 seconds in, I don't mean of gameplay, I mean in the license agreement page. Yes, this game is that good. So from this, I would take down to my first impressions of the game being in the three main camps of it, being the gameplay, the storyline, and a very significant part for me personally is the soundtrack. And this game has a great soundtrack. And to start off, we'll just cover that soundtrack. Why did I think it was so good? Well, because it was good. It was amazing. Within the first 10 seconds, the entire game's feel and identity could be seen through the soundtrack. When you were loading up the literal license agreement, where you check it off, when you get those pre-settings, make sure the boundaries for your TV is in order and everything. All those little settings, when you just start the game, at that moment, just listening to the game, I could have been happy for an hour. That is great work on the developers, understanding that the game needed a good grounding background to get you emotionally invested in the game. And they started working on that before that first cutscene, which is extremely good, mind you, as well. So why don't we just talk about that next? Why is the story mode so good? Why I think many aspects of the story are so good is because they clearly are taking the time to tell the story as it is needed. They don't jump the gun on any details. They take the time and let everything set in. You should be able to figure out what's happening before the very first words are spoken. You can understand generally what's about to happen. And the entire first mission, which I won't want to spoil because I believe every one of you should go and play it right now. If you just saw the first mission, you would be hooked for the entire game. Because in that first scene, you get your main character, whose name is Gustav, and his entire motivation for what he's doing and what's going on. But while I say in that first 10 seconds you understand his emotional attachment, you don't necessarily understand what he's about to go through and the significance of it. And that's the process of giving him his motivation, and more so the personal loss that you see throughout the entire game is extremely well captured just in that very first introductory mission, that sort of that training ground you have. That alone makes the entire game more intriguing. And as I've been playing more throughout the game, and I'm not quite finished yet, but as I go throughout, that only deepens further with every single cutscene, and even the dialogue you hear, just a little chitter chatter or the little there's these notes left by other expedition teams. Those ones give you a lot better lore. So within that, the story is told very well, slowly. They don't rush any details to a magnificent soundtrack. And what I hope to have is a great payoff at the end, and I'm sure they will based on what I'm seeing so far. Now to the gameplay. The gameplay is honestly the most surprising aspect of this game for me. And while I actually don't think the gameplay matches up to the story or the soundtrack in equal proportions necessarily, it is still an amazing gameplay, and that's coming from a guy who swore he would never play a turn based RPG. I thought that those were pointless and dumb and made no sense. Why in the world would I let it be either random chance rolls or weird strategies and long drawn out battles? I did not understand why anyone found it entertaining at all. And from what I saw in clips of other games, I didn't want anything part of it. So I didn't really have any experience on it, but because of the setting of the gameplay and the landscape and the premise that was set out with uh, the numbers that are going down within the game and the casualties from it, the premise was very captivating. But I was leery about the gameplay. The gameplay itself hit everything I would want in a game. to a surprising degree. There was just of enough interactive elements to make me not feel like I wasn't in control, but enough of those flashy combats and super abilities that gave me the actual strategy to where I think you could still comfortably say that it was a turn-based RPG. And I think the key parts are the parrying and dodge mechanics, which, from my understanding, is not present in any other game of this sort, which are actually not as easy as you would think. If you think about it, you're playing like the Arkham games or the Shadow of War games, when you come to parrying, those are pretty easy. You see this little prompt, you tap the button, you go through, it's good. These are not that way. As far as I can tell, the only prompts you get on the standard difficulty is when you have a jump dodge, which those are pretty forgiving. But if you do a traditional dodge or a parry, you either have to listen to subtle sound cues because the speeds can be so deceptive. Each boss and each enemy type have different timings and speeds, and there's no like clear, distinguished timing to know when to block or dodge, which I think is actually great. It's driving me crazy on this one boss I'm stuck on, but the mechanic itself is extremely well done and challenging, but makes it so you feel like you are still in control of your characters, that you're not limited by just your hit points, your damage points. If you could parry or dodge, you're basically immortal, you're going to win. And I think that's a good way of doing it. And since they didn't make it very forgiving, it's actually challenging. I think that's the icing on the cake. And in the background, you've been seeing that most of the time. And for me, I'm new to these games at all. This is extremely far out of what I normally play. I'm more of a Call of Duty kind of guy or a Halo kind of guy. So the gameplay style is completely different. But within that, the game still was very satisfying. I actually got addicted to the gameplay, continually going back to fight these enemies, and extreme replayability. And since I'm stuck in this boss, I went back and just started fighting enemies to get more points to rank up my guys. And I can do that. I just walk around the same area and doing the same thing until I get past it. And for me, if I'm thinking, well, I can continue on and just grind through this still, despite being, you know, totally being curb stomped by the boss, but it's still making me come back. They really did a good job on the gameplay to make me want to go back after being curb stomped 1,000 times by just one mid-level boss. I don't even think I'm close to the end of the game, honestly. I think that from what I've understand, there's extremely large quantities of this game to play. And while there are some side quests, there's not a lot that are highlighted. The way the side quests going on now is kind of a side tangent onto the side quests, but the reason why the side quests are kind of captivating to me and interesting to me is because you don't actually have a little like in Elder Scroll games, you have those little, ooh, side quest here, a million side quests building up your tab. No, a guy tells you something, you go do something, and then you give it back to him on your own timing. There's one guy, this kind of rock guy. There's not really much spoilers here, but he needs these crystals returned to him, and there's no like tracker for it. You just walk into a cave. If you see them, you grab them and you walk back. You don't have to go back. But if you do that, you can. You get a little bit more lore. And there's some other little things like that to where it's only tracking the main game, but you can play all these other little things, which I think is better and more immersive than having this crazy tab filled with all these little mini side quests. I don't like that. So I actually think the way they tell the story through even the side quests is very well done. And with that, I would conclude that this is by far the best game I've seen this year. It took me out of Oblivion. And I thought the first cutscene of Oblivion was amazing. I'm like, why aren't games made like this anymore? And then I saw Expedition 33, and I'm saying, like, goodbye, Oblivion. You're only third rate on the board. Like, just get out of here. So, yes, my conclusion is that get this game, get it now, have a good time. I'm sure you will not regret it.